Here's something that might surprise you. If you say, I finished in the last moment, most native speakers will understand you, but they'll also think, this person learned English from a textbook.
Wait, really? That's exactly what I've been saying.
And that's why today's episode exists. Because you deserve to sound like a real person, not a robot. I'm Maya.
And I'm Leo. And I am officially ready to fix this. Let's get into it.
So today we are diving into 3 powerful time idioms. These are expressions that native speakers use every single day, at work, with friends, in movies, in books, and the first one is the star of today's show, in the nick of time.
Okay, I've heard this one, but I honestly don't know when to use it.
That's exactly what we're going to fix. So here's a quick definition. In the nick of time means at the very last possible moment before something bad happens. It's not just late, it's just barely not late.
Just barely not late. I like that.
Right. Imagine you're standing at the airport gate. The boarding door is closing. The agent looks at her watch, and you come running down the hallway holding your passport. You hand the ticket to the agent, and she says, "You made it, just in the nick of time."
Oh, that feels good. Like a movie scene.
Exactly, and that's the feeling behind this idiom. It's not just about time, it's about relief, about a close call, about almost missing something.
So I can say I arrived in the nick of time for the meeting.
Perfect. But actually, let's make it even better, because native speakers often say, just in the nick of time. The word just adds that sense of barely, barely.
Just in the nick of time. Got it.
Now, here's a mistake I hear from Spanish speakers and Chinese speakers a lot. They say in the nick of time for anything that happens at the last moment, even when there's no danger or consequence.
Can you give me an example of the wrong way?
Sure. Let's say you finish your lunch at exactly 12:30, but your lunch break ends at 1,000. You're not cutting it close. You're fine. So if you say, I finished my lunch in the nick of time, that sounds really strange because there was no urgency.
Right, because nothing bad would have happened.
Exactly. The bad thing has to be real, or at least implied. So if you're about to get a parking ticket and you put the coins in the meter at the last second, bam, that's in the nick of time.
Okay, I've had that experience. That feeling is so specific.
It's universal. Now, let's make this really practical. I'm going to tell you a short story. A true story, actually. My friend Hiroshi had a job interview last year. He lived in another city, and his train arrived at the station at 9:28 a.m. His interview was at 9:30. The company was 4 blocks away.
Oh no.
He ran. He ran through the streets, dodging people, holding his briefcase. He got to the building at 9:29. He took the elevator up, and at 9:30 exactly, he walked into the office, out of breath. The receptionist looked at him and said, "You made it just in the nick of time." The manager was about to call the next candidate.
Wow. So he got the job?
He did. And he always says that in the nick of time saved his career.
That's amazing. And now I can use that in a sentence. I submitted my report just in the nick of time before the boss closed the door.
Beautiful. That's a perfect example. Now here's the part that surprises most people. The word nick doesn't mean time at all. Historically, a nick was a small cut or notch, and in old times, people used to measure time by making notches on a candle or a stick. So in the nick of time meant at the exact moment when the notch was cut.
So it literally means at the exact mark?
Exactly. You hit the mark. You made it right on the notch. So the idiom carries this idea of precision. You didn't just arrive late, you arrived at the exact last possible moment.
That's so cool. I'm never gonna forget that now.
Good. Now let's move to our second idiom, beat the clock.
Beat the clock. I've heard this in video games.
You're not wrong. It's very common in games, but it's also used in real life. Beat the clock means to finish something before a deadline, especially when the deadline is very strict.
Can you give me an example that's not a game?
Absolutely. Imagine you're working on a project and the deadline is Friday at 5 p.m. It's Thursday evening and you're still not done, but you work late into the night and at 4:45 p.m. on Friday, you hit send on the email. You beat the clock.
Okay, so it's very similar to in the nick of time?
Good observation. They are close cousins, but here's the difference. In the nick of time focuses on the narrow escape from a bad consequence. Beat the clock focuses on winning against time itself. It's more competitive.
Ah, I see. So in the nick of time is about relief. Beat the clock is about achievement.
That's exactly it. You nailed it. So, for example, a student who finishes a test with only 2 minutes remaining, they beat the clock. But a student who turns in the test as the teacher is literally taking the stack of papers away from the last person, that student turned in the test just in the nick of time.
I love that distinction. So which one should I use when?
Great question. Use beat the clock when you want to emphasize effort and speed. Use in the nick of time when you want to emphasize how close you were to disaster. Different flavors.
Now here's a mistake I think Spanish speakers make. In Spanish, contrarreloj is very direct. So they often say against the clock instead of beat the clock.
That's very common. And against the clock is actually also an English expression, but it's used differently. Work against the clock means you are working with a time limit. Beat the clock means you succeeded. So if you're describing the situation, say working against the clock. If you're describing the success, say beat the clock.
So I can say we were working against the clock all night, but we beat the clock in the end.
Perfect sentence. Write that down.
I'm writing it in my brain.
Good. Now, our third idiom takes us in a completely different direction. Behind the times.
Behind the times, that sounds negative.
It usually is. Behind the times means old-fashioned, not up to date with current trends, technology, or thinking.
So if my dad still uses a flip phone, he's behind the times?
Exactly. But be careful, this is not a direct insult. It's more of an observation. You can say, this company is still using paper files, they're really behind the times.
I have another example. In some countries, people still use cash for everything, while the rest of the world uses mobile payments.
That's a great example. And you can say, the payment system is behind the times.
Now, I have a confession. I think I've been using another idiom wrong.
Which one?
Out of time. I used to say I'm out of time instead of I'm behind the times.
Oh, that's a very different meaning. Out of time means you have no time left, like in a game when the timer hits 0. Behind the times means you're not modern.
Okay, so my grandfather is behind the times because he doesn't use social media, but I'm out of time because I have to leave in 5 minutes.
Perfect. You've got it.
Now here's a trap for Arabic speakers. In Arabic, the phrase waqit or al-zamam is used in different contexts. So some Arabic speakers say, I am behind the time instead of behind the times.
That's a very useful note. The idiom always has the S behind the times, not behind the time. The S is not optional. So say it with me, behind the times.
Behind the times.
Good. Now, let me give you the full picture. These 3 idioms cover 3 different time situations. In the nick of time, narrow escape from bad consequences. Beat the clock, winning against a deadline. Behind the times, not modern or up to date.
3 different situations, 3 different expressions. I'm going to practice all of them today.
And here's the thing. If you can use just these 3 idioms naturally, you will immediately sound more fluent. Why? Because native speakers use these constantly. In meetings, in conversations, in storytelling.
I want to try a practice round. Can you give me a scenario and I'll try to use the right idiom?
Let's do it. Scenario 1. You're cooking dinner and your guests arrive at 7 p.m. The food is supposed to be ready at 7. You put the chicken in the oven at 6:58, 2 minutes before they ring the doorbell.
I finished cooking just in the nick of time.
Correct. But you could also say, I beat the clock. Both work, but in the nick of time feels more natural here because of the relief of not being embarrassed.
Scenario 2.
Your friend still uses a 15-year-old laptop. It takes 5 minutes to open a web browser.
He's behind the times.
Exactly. Scenario 3. You have a project due at midnight. You complete it and submit it at 11:59 p.m.
I beat the clock.
Or in the nick of time. Both work. but beat the clock emphasizes your effort.
This is so helpful. I feel like I've been using English my whole life without knowing these little secrets.
And that is exactly why we make this podcast. Because real English is not what you learn in a textbook, it's the small, flavorful words that make you sound like a human being.
Before we go, can you give me one more tip? Like, how do I remember these?
Sure, here's a memory trick. Think of a clock, an old-fashioned grandfather clock. If you are behind the times, you're standing behind the clock. Old, not moving. If you beat the clock, you're hitting it with your fist. You're winning. You're active. If you arrive in the nick of time, imagine the clock has a small notch, a nick, and at exactly that moment, you step through the door.
That's gonna stick in my head forever.
Today's rule: stop saying in the last moment. Start using in the nick of time for close calls, beat the clock for deadlines, and behind the times for anything old-fashioned.
I can do that?
And if you want to practice with us, here's your challenge. Write a sentence about something you did today or this week using one of these 3 idioms. Put it in the comments below. We might read your sentence on the next episode.
I'm gonna do it right now. My sentence: I woke up at 7:59 a.m. for my 8 a.m. meeting, and I joined the call just in the nick of time.
That's a perfect example. Thank you for being here, everyone. You are not behind the times, you're leveling up your English every single day.
If you enjoyed this episode, hit that subscribe button and share it with a friend who still says in the last moment.
We'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Speak Like a Native. Keep practicing, and remember, real English is for real life.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.